G'day guys, Tom here from Different Drop with a very special guest today. The one and only Vince Vaughan has come to visit us at GTHQ. No. It's, of course, Will Gilbert, winemaking extraordinaire from Orange and Mudgee regions in New South Wales, and a long-time friend of DD. And for us, I think one of the real up-and-coming star producers that we should all have in our little black book of winemakers. So, Will, thanks for popping in, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me today. Great to be here and see you again.
After the weekend of festivities.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
10 years.
Recovered from the Wine Unleashed.
Well and truly bounced back. No, it was a great celebration of all your favourite producers, and to celebrate 10 years of what you guys have done. It's a testament to have all those producers in the room and everyone that's been buying your wines for all those years. So well done.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Happy birthday.
No worries. I guess we should place an order for some wine then after those words. Mate, give us a little bit of the spiel about Gilbert, because it is quite a story, all the family history with winemaking and what brought you to be making these wines. And I'm going to pour us a glass of Riesling while you do that.
Good little one to start off with. So I'm Will from Gilbert, and a little father and son winemaking duo. So work alongside my father. He's originally South Australian born and bred, which is where the family originated, planting some of those earliest Riesling varietal plantings in the country many years ago, back in the 1840s. So very fortunate.
Not your dad, obviously.
Not my
father. How many generations? Six is it? Are you sixth generation?
Fortunate to be the sixth. So which is an amazing family history, and also fortunate to have all those stories and just things that Dad had learnt from his father and grandfather, and all those stories that have been passed down. But he moved over to New South Wales to move away from that family part of the business and reset and go again. And after many years of contract winemaking, he started his own label.
So he was making wine for a couple of decades there in the sort of Mudgee Orange area. And then what brought you into the scene? So were you involved at all, like as a kid, as a teenager growing up? Or?
There was a lot of free labour thrown around, of topping barrels, hosing out bins, annoying cellar hands that Dad had working with him. And when you're immersed in that and grow up around internationals, living in the house or living in the cottages close by, and just seeing that travelling mentality and the amazing food and culture and people that it all brings together. No doubt was inevitable that I was going to get involved, and just an industry that is super infectious. And once you start, it's as from a selling point and meeting a lot of producers, it's once they start, then you sort of hooked in and can't ever leave.
Someone told that to me once when I just started in wine, just in a bottle shop. I think I left that job to go get another marketing gig in the industry, and they said, "Oh, you're hooked now. You're in the industry. It's got its teeth into you, and there's no turning back." It's that kind of industry.
Once that foot's in the door, it's hard to leave. So very fortunate to have that initial opening there, and then after a few years overseas, part of a degree, and that no doubt will get finished one day. But then more recently overseas again, and just trying to learn and pick the brains of as many people as possible, and then evolve the Gilbert brand of what it was when I first came home to what it is now.
So just on this one quickly, I know part of your travelling around and making wines in North America as well, right? And chasing cooler regions, and I'm assuming seeing some pretty interesting Rieslings in that part of the world as well.
Some incredible Rieslings.
This is an amazing wine. Like this is, I think Riesling is probably the underrated variety of orange. Like it doesn't get as much focus as Pinot Chardonnay. There's a lot of Sauvignon Blanc planted, Pinot Gris, heavier reds too, but I think some of the Riesling coming out of Orange now is remarkable. And this is 2016.
Yeah, so this is a little museum release that we've kept aside for a few years until now to re-release. There's a lot of power and weight and structure to the wine as it's evolved incredibly well over the last little while. Just got a little smidgen of sugar. Still very dry, fresh and talky.
You don't see the sugar. Like the acid in that is unbelievable. That's 7 years old and still so fresh and so youthful. So some great slight age characters to it, but the vibrancy and delicate profile it still has is a testament to where it's grown, and that amazing natural acidity that the region has, and a very sort of delicate winemaking scenario of not taking too much out or putting too much in, and just letting that site
and season really come through.
And this would have been one of the first ones that you made under the label?
Yeah, there was a bit of a transition period of Dad and I, and my hands getting a little bit more involved in decision making and things, and really wanted to sort of adjust the sugar levels and profiles and what we were doing from a winery sense in those early years.
That's fantastic. It's showing that kind of texture. That texture is built over the years without it going into that kerosene-y, overly honeyed sort of thing you see in other parts of Australia. And it still looks really fresh and vibrant, but just has this weight and texture to it, which you might almost mistake for residual sugar. In fact, when we tasted this a minute ago, I asked you, what's the RS, what's the residual on that? Because it feels like it has maybe 10 grams or something for that extra texture.
But no, it's just down at 3.5 grams. And
wow.
Just the fruit profile. 2016 started some warm years that we're moving on to for a little while, but still great canopy protection of the fruit on the vine. So reduced that kerosene development and kept it very bright and pure.
We'll move on to Chardonnay, and I think anyone that knows Orange knows Chardonnay, and it's probably the variety that maybe holds the most potential in the region. Arguably, I don't know, you might disagree.
No, I love cool climate Chardonnay, and the excitement with Chardonnay and what is being produced in different areas of Orange is pretty exciting. From not only still table wine sense, but also sparkling.
Will's bubbles are remarkable. Blanc de Blanc and Traditional. So the 16 won a lot of awards. 17's been released shortly, I believe.
Just about to be released. Just gorgeous, laying to rest.
That's from the same vineyard, isn't it? So this is the Nashdale site. So tell us a little bit about the site and what makes it special.
Yeah, so this is coming from the Nashdale site, which all of our sparkling comes from, and some parcels that go into the Pinot as well. And there's been a recent planting of some Riesling there, which is pretty exciting to start to work with. But it's down that sort of that more cooler part of Orange, up very high in altitude, 980 meters. Wow. It goes up to from a Pinot point, and the Chardonnay is planted just below. But this wine in particular was harvested just 10 days after our sparkling pick, so still very tight, delicate profile. And some nice sort of acid line and purity of Chardonnay fruit.
That altitude, just to pause next, you just say straight out 980 meters, like that's remarkable in an Australian context. I mean, that's some of the highest altitude sites in Australia, especially for table wines, for dry table wines.
Yeah, it's incredible, but it's the diurnal shift that we get, and very very cool nights, but quite warm days, and so you get that degree change, but also. From a UV point as well, there's great ripeness and great.
You're closer to the sun. So.
Closer to the sun, yeah. But it gets that warmth that does come across, the central western New South Wales, and then cools down at night. But with that high altitude, those cooler nights, you get great acid retention, a longer growing season, so more delicate fruit flavors, and with still some restraint and delicate. And
that's I think what you see in these wines, and I love that you're obviously leaning into that and trying to capture that style in these wines. You're not trying to make wines that mimic other regions around Australia. This isn't Margaret River Chardonnay. This isn't Yarra Valley Chardonnay. This isn't Adelaide Hills Chardonnay, because it's fucking cold, and it's all about acidity. It's got a mineral kind of character to it, length, detail.
It's just harnessing what we are very fortunate to have on those sites, and it's acid and purity. And most of this wine's fermented in concrete with a little bit of old neutral barrel, no malo at all, which sort of contradicts a lot of those things that you'd be thinking with a super high altitude mineral type Chardonnay. But I just want to embrace it, showcase that fruit, and also extracting some nice phenolics from macerating those bunches.
I was just about to say, you see that kind of chalkiness, faint grippiness there on the back of the palate, which just adds a dimension to it.
And the ageability of these wines, we've had that 2016 Riesling, had a 2016 Chardonnay before as well. So the excitement of the ageability of Chardonnay, Riesling, and also Pinot Noir out of Orange is promising.
So speaking of things that change over time, we were having a laugh a minute ago about when you took over and started making the Pinots, and you were making them in a much lighter, more delicate style than what your dad had been doing. And he said, "What is this rosé? Look at this." Tell us a bit about Gilbert style Pinot, and I guess how you're, without obviously taking away from the amazing stuff your dad achieved, but how your winemaking differs from what he was doing, and where you see Gilbert kind of going.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to work overseas and work in Burgundy a few times, and for a person that's pretty inspirational, and picked his brains a few times, and also many other producers over there, and visited many sites, and just peppered them with questions, and I've really pulled back on the extraction of our Pinot, but that's come with a longer time on skins. So our Pinot spend like 4 to 5 weeks on skins. Very delicate extraction. Don't get pumped over every day, but more down that pump over as opposed to a punch down. So
yeah,
just letting that fruit and delicate tannin that comes with such elevation. Otherwise, they can just be a bit too disjointed and a bit washed out. So it's just harnessing that purity through infusion as opposed to extraction.
That's nice.
And then separating the bunches. So I ferment our parcels of whole bunch completely separately, and then the whole berries completely separately, and that just allows.
You were saying that's a more kind of Burgundian technique to do it.
Just saw that on those more marginal sites that's what they were doing, and because they can then press when they want to press the bunches or the whole berries, and not just influenced by the by one part of it, and because lignification of stalks is pretty tough at that altitude. So, but I want bunch and I want spice and stalkiness. So I thought best part to follow what I'd seen overseas and separate it, and then the style change has been very complementary to that little practice, and has allowed a long time on skins, which is then integration of colour and tannin, and then longevity of what's in glass and bottle.
And it's a remarkable result because it's delicate and very pretty and pure, but as you say, not washed out at all. It still has some backbone, some structure to it. Little savoury kind of accents without it being kind of overpowering. And I know, obviously, as you go into the single vineyard Pinots, you see a little bit more of that earthy, stalky character
coming through. Yeah, and being true to, like the Chardonnay, being true to where they're grown, and not trying to be something that we're not trying to, do some blending or force a different hand to what's grown. So just being true to the site and season that our Pinot Noirs are grown from.
And what's been the response over the years from like your own customers in the market to the style as it changes?
Yeah, the success of the Pinots have been pretty amazing. And we've started out quite small with the Pinot range, and then it's evolved into 3-4 wines, and also the growth in volumes where vineyards and yields have dictated. But yeah, we've got a great following, particularly here in New South Wales, of our Pinot, but also further afield.
Great cellar door too. If you're ever in Mudgee, it's the one cellar door I always recommend people pop in.
You still haven't come, but
I haven't even been.
You've recommended.
I know. I said everyone else. I know. I haven't been to Mudgee in years, unfortunately.
One day we'll get you up.
Oh God, I know, it's a disgrace.
It's a long way over that mountain, even though I just drove here this morning. But it's okay.
I was up in the mountains a few weeks ago, actually, and a part of me was like, I could just keep going, but I don't know. Responsibilities. How's the family?
Family's well.
Yeah.
His little fella's going well. Yeah. Walking, took his first steps in Italy. Pretty good start to the world. Really.
Classic winemaker like family, isn't it? First time he's up on the plane, let's just go hang out in Italy.
Let's go to Italy and France for 2 months, mate.
Well, mate, he'll be the 7th generation, so you got to start him early.
The pressure's from you already, so I'll send him your way.
Gilbert and Sons. Awesome. Mate, thank you so much, guys. I think Will's wines are absolutely worth trying, and these three kind of sum up what they're about. But there's a big catalogue there of wines. There's some other interesting blends as well, and it's really an exploration of these three varieties.
Definitely. With a bit of sparkling on the side as well.
Oh, the bubbles is unreal. Yeah, the bubbles is crazy good. Yeah, so mate, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you, and we'll do it again soon, guys.
Definitely.
Gilbert, do it.
Cheers. Thank you.